if you pretend to be, especially deep cover for a long period of time, if you're pretending to be something that's way off of who you really are, usually one or two things is going to happen. Either you're going to slip up and get caught, or you're going to become it, and both of them are bad.
Violent drug cartels, outlaw biker gangs, and even the KKK. Scott Payne has infiltrated them all. He spent 23 years in the FBI, many of those living undercover in the criminal world. But now he's a best-selling author. Welcome to Authorized Account, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Reilly. Scott, thanks for joining us again.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for having me on the first time.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming up. So, first question I just want to ask you is, how do you deal with wanting to collect the evidence and seeing these crimes happen in order to stop future ones, with also wanting to stop the crime that it's happening right in front of you? Like, is that...
Let's talk about that, because if it comes down to a safety thing, I'm probably going to blow the case.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, if say I'm with a group and we go in and I'm riding with them and all of a sudden we're robbing a bank. I mean, maybe I'll sit back, make sure nobody's getting hurt, but it's going to be at that moment. You're going to be working on the fly. But what if they go in and rob a convenience store? I can't let anybody get killed.
Yeah.
You know, remember, I did take an oath. Don't get wrapped around the axle of, I am Scott Calloway. I'm undercover. I've got to make this work. No, you're still a cop at the end of the day. You took an oath, and at the end of the day, hey.
Are there levels that you're looking at, like, this is okay, this is where I'm going to step in?
Can be. Like on the base case, you know, I'm sitting there before we sacrifice the goat. I know they stole the goat, but I'm sitting there going, all right, so I know they stole the goat. Misdemeanor maybe, not federal. Man, should I stop all this? And I even radioed the team. I'm like, hey, look, pretty sure we're getting ready to go into the woods and sacrifice this animal they just stole. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, a reason to stop it and jeopardize the entire investigation. But if you guys want me to stop it, give me a sign. Let me know.
To the base.
Mm-hmm. Were a violent accelerationist neo-Nazi group. So
what happened?
And you wait, feeling like it's forever, and I'm staring at my phone, going 1,000, 1,000, and I lean in and I go, okay, well, I guess I'm heading to the woods, you know.
Now, matters of safety. Do you have any particular moments that stand out where you came really close to blowing the case just to protect yourself or protect someone else? You know, your life's on the line, blowing a case. There's one incident that I can think of right off the bat. It was the basement one.
The basement's probably the biggest one, yeah.
And that was with the Outlaws. That was the biker gang. Yeah. Actually, for the viewers, can you just explain them the Outlaws case? That was Operation Roadkill, I believe?
Yeah. Operation Roadkill. Based out of Boston field office. We did 2 years. I did 2 years undercover. I'm sure they worked it longer than that because they were building the case before I even got on as the undercover. But, yeah, 2 years undercover with the Outlaws. Built a lot of relationships, gathered evidence of a lot of crimes going on, and you kind of go where the case takes you. But towards the end of that case, I crashed mentally and physically, and I was worn out. So after a year and a half undercover in the Outlaws case, I've got multiple friends, like tight. Scott Town, best. Still love the dude. He broke the law. Hey, I still love the guy, you know. The second tightest relationship would have been Clothesline. It was Brian De La Vega. He was the enforcer for the Outlaws. And then it probably would have been Joe Doggs, the president, and then trickle on down from there. But those are the three I probably hung with the most. So at a year and a half in, predication's already there. See, a lot of people, like you see haters post stuff. They'll post like, sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't. It's like, oh, great, you spent your entire career entrapping people. No, sir. No, ma'am, I didn't. That's if that's what you want to call it, then you're completely wrong, and you would probably be pleading guilty too. I don't come in, you're broke, you've never talked to me about drugs, I know you're poor, and I go, hey, I can give you $35,000 if you'll walk this across the street. Yeah, that's entrapment. But if when I meet you and you say, where are you from? And I say, McAllen, Texas. Where's that? Oh, it's on the border. Hey, how much can you get a kilo of cocaine for? I didn't bring up the dope. You brought up the dope. And plus, an investigation has already been conducted that they do deal dope. Whether you've had somebody buy from them, you've had reporting, whatever. It's there. So they were already predicated for drugs. They wanted me to do drug deals from the jump. And as any good drug dealer wants, they want a source of supply to get the most pure dope they can get for the cheapest price they can get, because that means they can make more money on the back end, right? So at 1.5 years in, I laid out breadcrumbs and laid out this story that yes, because they believed I was a high-ranking member of an international theft ring. They knew that I'd taken F-350s, Harleys, whatever, Hummers, BMWs. I'd taken all this stuff from them. And in the beginning, as I said, it was insurance fraud, but then it just became straight theft. They were just popping steering columns and driving them right off the lot, or a carjacking. They actually take a vehicle at gunpoint, almost kill the guy, and they say, "Tex, we got to get rid of this." So now we're getting a lot more trust. And
how do things change for you when it goes from stealing cars off a lot to carjackings, which both are stealing a car, but one, just putting...
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big lick. That's a very violent crime. And if nobody believes it, let me know what you feel like after you've been carjacked, It's a very violent crime. But at that point, when it came across, I didn't know it was coming across. They're like, "Hey, can you get rid of this vehicle? We just stole it. We took this dude at gunpoint, blah, 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 blah. It's got a tracker on it." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. Don't even worry about it."
Oh,
they won't even know. My boys will take that tracker off. You won't even know. Next time they read it, it's probably going to be somewhere deep in Mexico. They're not going to get it, kind of thing. Because the stories I was portraying were actually true stories, which made me come across as believable. But we had been doing that, the carjackings and stuff, and then I started trickling it out that, yes, I did used to be involved in the dope game. My truck drivers, who they'd met, a couple of them, undercovers posing as my truck driver when we load these vehicles on the semi and they pull off, that I said the reason I backed out is because some of my people got popped and the heat was getting too close. And I explained why it was easier for me to do what I was doing with international theft. In other words, vehicles are going into Mexico, not money. And that's what a lot of the feds are looking for. They're looking for money coming in to get dope coming out, kind of thing. I laid all that out, but I started laying breadcrumbs, and they started putting 2 and 2 together, and they were like, "Man, we really want to meet this guy, Manny. We really want to meet your cartel contact." I said, "Well, I bet you do." And it came to fruition that basically they were going to protect a drug shipment being delivered to another cartel. And they wanted in, and I laid that whole plan out. The issue is that 1.5 years in, I guess that what we found out later is that it went all the way to the top of the Outlaws. National president found out that the Taunton and Brockton chapters were going to be participating in this drug thing. And it came back down that has this guy, Scott Calloway, Tex, been thoroughly checked. And they were like, "Dude, we've done like 6-8 jobs with this guy, and we're not in bracelets, meaning handcuffs."
Was there only vetting, like, let's do some crime with him, see if we get arrested?
Well, kind of. I mean, like at the beginning, I'm getting grilled. I'm getting like even if I befriended the Brockton and Taunton chapters and we go to Sturgis, or go to Daytona, there's outlaws from all over the world, and they're standing this close going, "Who the F is this guy? Why is he in Boston? He's from Texas." And I got to recite the story, the whole backstory again. So the more people you meet, the more scrutiny you're going to get. But at that point, I let them figure it out. Hey, man, I was involved in dope. They agreed. They wanted to be a part of protecting this load. And we had 40, they didn't know it, but we had 40 kilos of real cocaine, 1,000 pounds of real weed. We're talking 2006, 7, somewhere in there. So weed was still a big deal as far as the legal front goes. And we transferred it from one truck to another, and they helped to guard it, and of their own free will, no entrapment, and even in the basement, I say, if nobody wants to do anything, they don't have to do anything. So what happened is the night before we're doing the deal, Joe Dogs tells me to come to the clubhouse. 1.5 years in, all kinds of jobs. criminal activity with these guys. So I get there. He's not answering the door. I'm like banging on the door, and he pops it open. And he's like, "Hey, we're not ready yet." And I was kind of a smart ass. I'm like, "Well, then why'd you call me over here?" I'm like, what the? All right. He goes, "Well, take Obi, who was a probate." He goes, "Take him. Y'all go down to Lombardi's, get something to eat or whatever." All right. So we go down there. I get something to eat, a couple of drinks, come back, and then he comes out, says we're ready.
At this point, are you suspecting that something strange?
No. I wasn't picking up on it.
So this is a normal thing.
Yeah, I wasn't picking up. I mean, I should have picked up on it, but I wasn't picking up on it. And I go into the clubhouse. You're not allowed to touch the door if you're not a patch member. The door is heavily fortified. I think it was steel frame, but I know that there was a metal bar across the door, and it has deadbolts on it. So it's going to be a little harder to breach.
No, I mean, not allowed to touch it. You can't knock on it. You can't open it.
Kind of can't open it.
Can't open it.
Yeah.
What's the punishment if you do?
I don't know. Maybe a beat down. I didn't do it.
Okay.
I didn't know. I was respectful. So I've been there. I'm telling jokes like usual, and everybody's laughing like usual. But what I can't see is that when I would turn my head, one of my recording devices picked it up, and I saw it later. But when I turned my head, they would just stop laughing. Their face would just go stone. It would just be like, it'd be like, yeah, that's funny, Tex, that's funny. And I turn my head. So the whole purpose of that church meeting was probably to talk about them bringing me in and checking me, which kind of goes against the whole argument of we're not an organization. If anybody's doing crimes, it's just them. It's not how did the top guy of the Outlaws find out that we're getting ready to do this drug deal and send down a message saying, you better check this guy? So what I didn't know is I'm sitting there, and I've seen this recording so many times. I've taught it to thousands upon thousands of people over the years. Clothesline says, "Hey, Tex, you got a minute?" And I said, "Yeah." He walks me into one door I'd never been in, and all the times I'd been in there, I'd been in that clubhouse a bunch. And it's a tight stairwell down to crawl space, basement. Basement's being very generous. I mean, it's basically a little room. And I couldn't stand up straight. Probably touched the wall on both sides.
What are you thinking at this moment right here?
No, I knew it wasn't good. Yeah. At that point, I knew something wasn't right, because when I followed clothesline into the door, another outlaw walks in behind me. And I'm like, oh, man.
Are you thinking how to get out of this right now? Or
well,
are you thinking more like
everything's going through my head.
Yeah.
Everything. I'm checking everything out. I'm trying to get as much intelligence as I can. And then they brandish their pistols. They let me know that I'm not free to leave. I see rope. I don't see plastic on the floor. If you see plastic on the floor, or they're telling you to put plastic down in these types of environments, it's probably because you're getting ready to get killed, and it makes it for easy cleanup. No blood on anything.
That's messed up. But.
Yeah. But that's the way I'm thinking, because that's that kind of world. So he tells me, he's like, "Hey, a lot of shit going on." These are his words. "There's a lot of shit going on. It's my job to protect my brothers. I need you to write down your full name, date of birth, social, address." He goes, "I'm not going to tell you to write your kids' names down. Not like we can't find out who they are anyway." And he says, "Then I need to take all your clothes off because I need to check you for a wire." Problem is that I was wired to the hilt. And I end up, because of the stress of the situation, I forgot my middle name. I finally remember it after what seems like eternity. And I write that down, and then I take all my clothes off. I took everything, jacket, I don't know how many shirts I had on because it was cold, right? Take all that off, take my boots off, and pants and underwear down around my ankles. So for ankle up, I'm butt naked. And they check me for a wire, and they don't find anything. And I think I'm about done. Now, the whole time we're talking, he's like telling me, he's like, "Hey, trust me, if somebody accused me of being a Fed, I'd probably smash them in the effing mouth." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm not happy." But I'm also talking to him. "Hey, should I ask what's going on? Hey, again, I'm doing this because you guys asked to do this. If nobody wants to do nothing, nobody has to do nothing. I mean, this is ridiculous kind of thing." But it doesn't sound like that, because I'm having an oh crap moment, an adrenaline dump. What you hear is more like, "Hey, should I ask what's going on?" Because I'm freaking out. I mean, and it's a higher voice too, because my throat's tightening up. And I think I'm done. I pull my britches back up, pants for those that aren't from the South. I guess britches is
I think
It's
britches,
universal, right? Yeah.
I think so.
It might even be over on the other side of
If
the
not,
pond, right?
for everybody out there, britches are pants.
Pants, yes. I pulled my pants back up. And I don't even know if I got my boots on, but then he grabs a piece of clothing. And that piece of clothing did have a recording device in it.
A piece of your clothing. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought I was done. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to find anything in here like some naked pictures of my old lady. And I'm like, I hope not. Now I'm watching him go through this piece of clothing, kneading it with his hands. And I'm like, oh, again, we're talking like 2006, 2007. Clearly technology is way better now. But had he kept going like this over that piece of clothing, he would have felt something. And he missed it. He looked right at it and missed it.
What's going through your mind at this point? When you're watching him, like, could just go down the line with this.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you hear or watch the video, again, I don't know how I do it, but you can hear me an audible sigh. Like, I'm watching him go through this piece of clothing, and I'm just standing there up against the wall going, I don't even know I did it. Because I know I'm not free to leave. So even if I did take out Clothesline and the other guy who have pistols, let's just say I make it past them. Now I go upstairs. What, there's 10 more outlaws with a fortified door? What are you going to do?
And now, are you by yourself at this point, or is someone watching you? Or
no, I, to my knowledge, I had a cover team, but to my knowledge, they've never been able to hear me in that clubhouse. Whether it was the walls, the phone, whatever, I don't know, whatever.
What's the cover team do?
Well, they're there for my safety, essentially. I mean, that's the main reason, right? Because it's a response team. It's a quick response team. But if the crap's going to hit the fan, I mean, maybe you can hang on or you deal with it yourself. Because I can show you from a tactical standpoint, I can show you video after video of SWAT team, rescue team, narc squad is on this side of an adjoining door of a hotel room. Bad guy walks in, gets 8 shots off before they can even turn the doorknob. So you just have to know in your head, if you're undercover, especially deep undercover, you're probably on your own to a certain extent. And everybody always asks, man, what would you have said had they found it? And I only had 2 responses. And the first one would have been a joke, because that's me. I'd have been like, I don't know, some naked pictures of the old lady, maybe buy me some time.
Yeah.
But the only other thing I had in my head was, hey, man, the gig's up. I'm an undercover FBI agent, and I can walk out of here and we can see each other in court, or all hell's getting ready to break loose. But it would have been a bluff, back to your question, because to my knowledge, they'd never been able to hear me that I knew of, whether for whatever reason, counter surveillance, equipment's bad, whatever.
And they couldn't hear you in the clubhouse there, but other times they would.
Oh, yeah. If I'm out, I got a cover team.
All right, so let's just say you weren't in the basement at that time, and you said a line like, actually, you didn't say it, but would the cover team, can they just break in at any time they want? Or like,
if I give the threat word or signal,
have a signal. Okay,
yeah. Your you call it what people call it different things, but your distress signal, you know, and you can have a visual too. I always kept it pretty simple. They'll be like, "Hey, what's your code word?" And I'm like, "Help," multiple times in a row. Not just help. I mean, if I'm going help, that's my word. If you see me running across the field like Willem Dafoe in Platoon, that is my physical signal. Because I've been on a lot of ops, and I was a vice narcotics investigator at the state and local level at my sheriff's office. And sure as crap, if we say, "Hey man, the signal for us to come in is you take your hat off your head," I never pull my hat off my head, but for whatever reason, subconsciously, you're sitting there, what happens all the time, you're sitting there watching, dude takes his hat off, and you're like, do we go? Because I'm pretty sure that was an accident, because there's no way it happened this quick. Or they go, and you're like, oh, man, I didn't have the dope yet. Or maybe your word is turkey, and somehow you screw up and say turkey, or, boy, it sure is warm in the winters here. I say again, it sure is warm in the winters here. The eagle is in the cage. I'm not doing all that stuff. I just try to keep it simple.
Just keep it simple.
But that night, when I went to turn in my equipment, I found out that those 2 officers, the task force officers I mentioned, Joe Cummins, Thomas Higginbottom, they were the first ones on shift. They had great experience working the Outlaws. They had been in that clubhouse before on local stuff. They thought that first interaction with me and Joe Dogs at the door where he was like, "Oh, we're not ready," they thought something was up. Their spidey senses
Okay.
went off, and they were actually able to hear everything. So the way it was told to me is while I was in that basement getting stripped at gunpoint, wired, they radioed back to everybody that was in the Boston office that was going to be working that, or anybody that was there, and say, look, they've got Scott in the basement. They're stripping him, and they're looking for a wire. And the way it was explained to me is everybody was coming down the highway, blue lights and sirens, trying to get to me. And because they had been in there and they knew that door, they suited up, being Sergeant Higginbottom and Detective Cummins. They vested up, suited up, and their plan was to drive the van into the cinder block wall next to the door because they knew that door was heavily fortified. It was a plan, to rescue me if all hell broke loose.
How much time are we talking about here? Like, what's the time frame for getting ready to go try and rescue you and
well, they were already stressed. As soon as Clothesline walked me in the basement, I'm pretty sure they were like, "Oh crap," and they went ahead and started vesting up.
Okay.
As far as that whole basement scene, I think it's like about 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Just remember from watching the video so much. I've clipped them to teach, but 8 to 10 minutes.
All right, so Clothesline's going through your clothes.
Yep.
Doesn't find anything.
Doesn't.
No, what's next?
I live to fight another day.
Yeah. Just pull your pants up, walk back upstairs.
He goes, I know. He goes, I'm sorry. He didn't even finish the sentence. He goes, but, I just got out, which he just got out of jail. And he was like, I can't go back. And I'm like, yeah. I said, man, I start talking business. I'm like, hey, that's why I want you, if you're going to do something, you don't have to do anything, but if you want to be a part of it, I want you out on the perimeter, on the outside, where you're not next to the action so you can peel off if cops show up or some crap like that.
All right. So you're coming back upstairs. The night continues on, or did you decide that's been enough for the night?
No, I'm an idiot. I stayed in it.
Stayed in. No adrenaline dump, nothing coming out of that?
Oh, multiple. Yeah. I had an adrenaline dump when they first walked me down.
Imagine, yeah.
And then I come back up and I go, okay, I'm recovering pretty good. Putting my pants back. Oh, then he grabs that clothing. Now it's another adrenaline dump. Now, the rest of the night, adrenaline high. I'm talking 90 miles a minute. I end up going out with Scott Town and Joe Dogs, and to their credit, they let me vent because I took it personal. I shouldn't have. I'm undercover, but I took that personal, and I let them have it, especially Joe Dogs. I was pissed. I was drinking. I was not happy, but I'm coming down off. Oh, you know what? Y'all show up tomorrow. If you show up, maybe I'll make y'all get naked in the middle of the parking lot. Maybe. We'll see how fun it is for you. That's how I was like pissed. And then, and I remember Joe Dogs was like, hey man, and they requested this, by the way, but it's like, yeah, everybody's just a little concerned because there's a lot of risk involved. I said, yes, there's risk involved, Joe. It's because it's illegal. If it wasn't illegal, there would be no risk. I thought we understood that, but yeah, I was fired up and I probably slept, if I slept, maybe an hour, 30 minutes.
Did any of them ever ask you after the whole investigation was done, prosecutions are done, why you got so upset for them accusing you of being an undercover agent when you're an undercover agent?
No, but that's a fair question.
I'd be pissed. He got pissed that night.
How dare you?
I can't believe I listened to him for that entire night. And
I was more upset about being stripped and not trusted. That's what I was more upset about. But yeah, hey, these cases have been done. He even said that night. Joe Dog was like, there's been cases made against other clubs and even our club, and it turns out that everybody's an undercover. And I'm like, who would do that? I'm like, who would waste that much time? But I was being facetious.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, we're doing it. We're doing it right now. But yeah, I lived to fight another day. The next day we did the deal. I think it was about 8 of them that assisted. Mm-hmm. We had we transferred 40 kilos of coke and 1,000 pounds of weed from one truck to the other, and pulled it off. Nobody tried to rip it off. We had SWAT teams set up. Can you imagine if the FBI lost 40 kilos of cocaine out into the street and anybody died from it or something? It'd be terrible. So yeah, it was full-fledged SWAT, snipers. I walked into the group while they were getting briefed. It was like a TV show. Like I walk in, I can't see nothing because of projectors. I'm like, hey, don't shoot this guy. We're good. I look a lot like the other people that are going to be out there, but take a good look at this Neanderthal forehead and don't shoot me. Actually,
that does bring up a good question. If if there is a situation like that coming up where there is a possibility of a gunfight coming out, how does the FBI, how does the people on your side know who you are?
Well, I was at the ops briefing.
Okay.
I came in for anybody that was going to be on the team. They may have just passed my picture around, and the car I'm in, kind of thing.
What about when you were on the SWAT team? What would you tell your SWAT members? Like, look at this guy.
It might be that. It might be like I pull into town and I'm doing a deal for you. Maybe your team hasn't worked with me because I'm at another division. They'll be like, hey, would you do me a favor? Do a selfie and then take a picture of your truck from all sides so we'll know, so I can send that out to the team so that way they know.
Right.
If you're doing an ops plan, it should already be in there. Hey, this is Scott. This is Scott's car. But I actually walked in when the SWAT team was getting briefed and everything. I walked in and they did flick the lights on, and I knew a bunch of them. I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" You know.
Now, I wanted to ask you, like, a piece of information like that, the selfies and what your truck looks like. That information's important, and if it got out, that could threaten your life. How did you guys protect against leaks and whatnot?
That ops plan is for that op, and it doesn't go anywhere else. Usually, you go shred them. They bring them back in. In other words, like you're saying, you don't want somebody forgetting and leaving the ops plan at the table at the dinner place, and then somebody grabs it and goes, "Holy crap, man! They're getting ready to hit you guys tomorrow," kind of thing. You just have to be very tight on operational security. Don't leave it in your car, that kind of thing. Shred it when we're done. Stuff.
And because there's cases that you still can't talk about to this day because they're classified, and that, like, if that information gets out, what is it putting people's lives in danger, or just it could? And
so like for this book, so the process for this book, there's people that are always going to argue, well, that's tradecraft, it's not tradecraft. But let me explain to you, being a former FBI agent and doing a book, that book, Pale Horse, had to go through the FBI pre-publication review process. So it's PRO, pre-publication review office. I have to send the manuscript in. Not only do they go through everything, chapter 3 and on in that book is all FBI undercovers. So that means that the entire undercover unit at headquarters has to go through that book.
Okay.
To include backstopping and safeguarding and all these people. Somebody in each unit is going to look at that and go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Then it's going to go to the sub-desk. So if it's the public corruption case, that's going to go to the public corruption unit at headquarters. If it's the base, that's DT, so it's going to go to the domestic terrorism operations section. They're going to have to go through it. And so in gangs, same thing. Then it goes down to the field office where I did the work. So if that was Boston, the whole Outlaw chapter, I think it was like 4 chapters on the Outlaws, that's got to go be approved at Boston. If the agents who work the case aren't there anymore or on that squad, at a minimum, you've probably got either the head of the office or the number 2 at the office. You got the legal person, the CDC, Chief Division Counsel, going through it, and probably the supervisor of that squad to make sure, which this is what I'm parlaying off of what you were talking about, to make sure that you are not burning any active sources, burning any active undercovers, burning any active investigations. All these cases are unclassified. They were all adjudicated. Everybody pled guilty. But it has to go through all that. That's why it took my process took 8.5 months.
Are criminals going back through books like yours and looking for any information that they can use on how you do your job?
Maybe not everybody, but I don't think you'd be a good criminal if you weren't. When I was in the Outlaws, they're the ones that told me to read Under and Alone by William Queen. I haven't met him. Got a lot of mutual friends. It was a great case, great book. And I remember thinking, dude, I wish you wouldn't have put that in there, because I'm out here trying to do this right now. But for me, at the end of the day, it's whether or not you trust me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I walk in the next day and you go, hey, kill this person. No. Have sex with that girl. No. I'm not doing that. Does that mean I'm a Fed? If that's your test, I'm out. I'm not, a lot of times it comes down to just greediness. And I talk about that in the book. But it's not entrapment. It's not. I mean, if you're not doing anything illegal, I know there's going to be some. I've seen some pushback on the last several years of the FBI, and they're like, "Well, these people weren't doing it." I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not getting in. I'm not diving down that rabbit hole. I can just tell you my experiences, and I didn't do that stuff. So,
when you're trained to become an undercover agent, how does that work?
The FBI is kind of an anomaly as far as Department of Justice goes. Like DEA, you get the training at the academy. You want to do it, you can. Maybe you take a third-party school or something. That's kind of my understanding with the ATF, the
It's a
FBI.
third-party school, like
Any kind of undercover training, I suggest take as much as you can.
mm-hmm.
Even if you've been doing it, you still could learn, right? Or maybe you could share some knowledge. In the FBI, you have to apply to be an undercover. And then that first phase, you're going to sit down with an undercover coordinator of the division.
Mm-hmm.
That was me in Knoxville. And we'll start going over stuff. Like, I'm not going to go over what the school is because I'm not going to give away anything, but I'm going to talk to you about maybe what do you think undercover is? How's your family life? Does your wife expect you to be home, or does your partner expect you to be home at 5 every day? I mean, because what do you picture when you think, if you see yourself working undercover, what do you think it is? And a lot of people just go off of TV and what they've seen. But hopefully somebody who's seasoned is your undercover coordinator, and they will be like, listen, it's not all cakes and pies, man. It's a calling, and not everybody's cut out for it. So you start there, and then you go through a process where maybe you go get safeguarded, you get assessed, and they go over some things with you. And then we dwindle it down to, headquarters gets it down to about 40 slots. There's only 20 slots in the school, but they would have 20 for a backup in case, 2 weeks before you fall out. Something happens, you can't do it. We'll grab that alternate and put them in. But it's only 20 slots. It is a very intensive school. It is 2 weeks with no days off. Very big on sleep deprivation. And everybody goes through every scenario.
What's the goal of this 2 weeks?
Let me tell you the tactical side. So the tactical side, when we're training out on the range, you'll hear cops and military. It's like, hey, we bleed on the range so we don't die in the street, right? In other words, we're putting you through all this stress and all these shootings and magazine changes and ways to shoot and get out and use cover and concealment. And you do all that on the range. So Lord forbid it does happen in the street. It's instinctive. You go right to doing it because you've trained it. Well, in the undercover world, you don't really have that range time, but at that school, we're trying to get as much as we can into you. We're wanting to see you at a breaking point, or can you be pushed that way? Because I've seen it. Some people, and I would have never known it, like I've been on SWAT with people. I've worked next to them at the office. Never seen them in an undercover environment, but they get a slot at the school. And after about 3 days, I come in and their hair's disheveled. Their buttons aren't lined up, zippers undone. And I'm like, good gravy, man. Are you okay? But some people, I'd say as humans, we're pretty regimented anyway. Like if I'm here for 2 weeks, I'm probably going to get up the same time every day, eat the same time every day, work out the same time every day. But can you take that, flip it upside down and sideways, and you don't get your solid meals, you don't get your good meals, you don't get to eat at the right time, you're hurting for sleep, and it not have an adverse impact on your psyche like I talked about earlier. So that, and we're also teaching, like every day you're learning something. So if you're still making the same mistakes on Friday that you were making on Monday, it's probably not a good thing.
And who was your teacher during this? Like who?
Oh, it takes a village.
Yeah.
You have like two main people from headquarters running that school, but it is loaded with role players, counselors, safeguards even there. So I'm trying to think of who was. We had two main people running my class when I went through in 2002, but like instructors, I mean, Joe Pistone was there.
Can you tell us a little bit about him? What does he like to work with?
Well, I didn't work with him. I just got trained by him.
Trained by him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For me, it was like being a kid in a candy shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was the first one there, last one to leave. They would tell me, they go, hey, country. My nickname was Big Country. They're like, country. It's time for you to go to bed. I'm like, all right, I'll take the trash out, because I enjoyed the crap out of it. But you get to hear the real, not the cakes and pie stories, and things that can go wrong, and what was learning lessons or lessons learned by going through things.
Can you recall the best piece of advice he gave you?
Well, take care of yourself, because he helped create Safeguard. Take care of yourself, take care of your family.
Why did he help create that? What is it about his story that?
I mean, I know that he did 6 years straight, and then in the mafia, and then he got transferred. He had like legit hits on his head. They transferred him to Dallas, I believe. But once he got to Dallas, the lead of the SAC, the leader of the Dallas office, didn't really care, and they're like, well, I'm putting you on a bank robbery squad. Well, here's a guy that's got hits on him. And now you got him on a squad where he's on news every time there's a. So Joe left. Joe quit the FBI.
Because you bring up a good point there that the guy that was running the Dallas field office, that going to throw him out there.
Yeah.
Why wasn't he smart enough to see that, or did he not care? Or
Not care. I'm just guessing not care.
So
some people don't like. I mean, some people in the bureau, they don't like undercovers. Maybe they've been burned by one. Maybe they tried to become one and didn't make. I don't know. But yeah. So from what I know, Joe retired from the FBI. When Louis Freeh came back, when Louis Freeh became the director, he wanted Joe back. But at that point, it had been too long, and Joe had to go back through the academy. So can you imagine?
Original Donnie Brasco.
Yeah,
I mean,
like sitting next to you.
I can imagine if somebody told him no on anything.
Yeah, that's a bunch of BS. Let me tell you how it works. You know, it's one of those things. Yeah, he's still kicking it, man. He is a great guy.
Now you said he was undercover for 6 years
with the mafia. He did
with the mafia.
Yeah, he did more undercovers than that, but he like they say that was a 6-year case.
Is there a limit to how long you can be undercover for?
Unless Safeguard does not recommend you.
Yeah, let's talk about the support system that's there when you're undercover. How many people are looking out for you when you are on a case, a dangerous case, something where your life is on the line every day?
Well, of course, there's going to be situations where the case team may not be that great. Maybe you're not getting along with people at Safeguard or whatever. But as the system is set up and the way it's supposed to work is you have multiple oversight, because even where you're at, let's just say you're the undercover. I'm not assigned to the case, but they pick me to be your contact agent.
Okay.
And the only real reason I'm there is just for your mental well-being. I'm probably the one meeting you, changing out your recording devices, giving you the money for the night, something like that. But it's a technique we got from our world working partners, you know, like your I Spy stuff. And essentially, I'm attached to the case for you and only you. I'm not on the case. I'm not biased to the case, because you hear these horror stories, not necessarily in the FBI, but just around, where the person running the undercover is also the person running the case, who's going to benefit greatly for that case succeeding. Oh. And then maybe you don't care so much about the undercover, and you start pushing. So that contact agent is there to go, stop. We'll bring in the undercover coordinator. We may even call Safeguard. Maybe Safeguard comes in. Maybe headquarters unit itself says, hey, that's enough. You know, so there's multiple layers of oversight, which there should be.
How do you develop trust with all of these different people that are?
It changes. And I keep saying it's a case-by-case basis, but that's really what it is. There may be a psychologist I get along with great, and then they leave the unit. And now I've got somebody else. There may be somebody I disagreed with, and maybe I'll get put on timeout. That's okay. It's all right.
The person that is running the case themselves, are they your partner on this, or are you?
No. Now, I've done cases where the case agent is a friend.
Okay.
For sure. And a lot of us in the community, I mean, if you're a good case agent, you're not just an undercover. I'm running undercovers. Like, I'm developing cases where I'm like, hey, we get this now. We'll put in to be an undercover operation, and I might reach out to you and whoever and say, hey, you interested in doing this case? Now I'm the case agent. But you're still going to get a contact agent who's not assigned to the case.
And who's taking care of your family in this? Who's keeping them informed? Is that the contact agent, or is that someone else? Or is that even a protocol?
That's kind of on us.
No.
I do remember the days when Safeguard would get in a car and drive, 5 hours, or fly and come in and sit down with you and the family. I don't know if they're doing that anymore, but I do remember them, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Well, then let me ask you, when you were with relationships and your wife, how did you and your wife meet, and were you already undercover at the time?
When I met her, it was a friend introduction, because she was in Nebraska and I was in South Carolina. And the second plane flight I ever took is when I went to meet her. Boy, if I think of all the plane flights I've done since then. But a friend introduction. And yes, I was already a vice narcotics investigator. So I had somewhat of longer hair, maybe a goatee. But I had gone through the state South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy for undercover techniques. Okay. Got certified in that. And was I deep undercover? No. But I mean, making buys, 2-3 buys, maybe we hit it, arrest it, or drive through and the jump out boys jump out, whatever you want to call them, things like that. But the conversations were kind of comical in the beginning, because it would be like, so she's 2 hours behind. So it might be midnight, but 10 o'clock her time, I'd call and we'd talk. And she's like, hey, So how was your day? And I'm like, well, I picked up a couple of hookers and bought some cocaine, you know. I mean, on the job. It was for the job.
It's for the job.
Not like legit, you know what I mean? It wasn't my money.
At what point, like, how early in the relationship do you tell someone that you work undercover, or that
I think with her, it was right out of the gate. I mean,
Yeah.
she knew I was law enforcement, but I do remember being single in South Carolina and being on a narc squad. And I would always, if I met somebody at a bar, I would give my fake last name because I wouldn't tell them yet. I mean, hell, it might turn into a drug buy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like that would happen at the bar all the time. I was a single dude, and I'd be out, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, you know, somebody sees me in my look or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, man, you need some white, or you need some green?" I'm like, "Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?" Like, yeah, no, I'm sitting fat tonight, man. Give me a number though. I'll call you later in the week. You got some good shit, you know?
Right,
and then I come in Monday and I tell the narc squad, hey, I got this guy, I met him, you know, let's make a phone call. Go make a buy.
Once, when you're going deep undercover on these, who is looking out for your family, or who's notified? How often do you get to talk to them?
I can talk to them daily.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not worried about anybody monitoring your phone or whatever way that you're talking to them?
That's a very good question. Operational security wise,
Yeah.
I'm not calling my wife's phone from my undercover phone.
Got it.
I'm going to buy her a burner phone.
Okay.
And then and it's out of my own pocket, but I do it so I can talk to my wife.
Right. You're spending your own money on this.
Yeah. And then, you know, change out the SIM card, crush it, whatever later, switch it. So that way, operational security wise, it's not, because, you know, especially today with all the tracking of phones and software and smartphones and everything else. Yeah. You would not want, you don't want your undercover phone calling any law enforcement unless you're saying, hey, I'm on probation. You know what I mean? It's part of the story.
Right.
But yeah, I could talk to her daily. It's not like a military style thing where I'm gone for 6 months and I only get to talk to you every couple of days. It's not like that. I mean, it could be, but it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you start asking yourself, does it really need this to make this case succeed? Because as you get wiser, the case really just isn't worth it. You know what I mean? I mean, there's going to be cases and cases, and one day you're going to retire, and people aren't going to know who you are, and that's fine. But your family. But I'm also a workaholic and goal oriented, so we had to come up with like certain little codes, if you will.
Did you have certain check-in times or whatnot so that she knew you were okay?
No, because I mean, like, who knows when I'm going to be able to. Like with the Outlaws, I might call her at 2 a.m. I might call her at 7 a.m. Depends on how long we were out. You know, I may just call her and go, hey, babe, I'm on the way back to the hotel. Just letting you know.
Would there be a point where she would have gone to your FBI office and been like, I haven't heard from Scott in a while?
Yes, yeah. Now, I would do that. But the case team, the cover team, whoever that case agent was would have my wife's real phone number.
Okay.
If something happened. And I would give her theirs or a contact there to say, hey, if you ever get really worried and you're wondering and you can't get me, just call, and they'll tell you.
How well do relationships in the real world last with undercover agents?
Like me and my.
You're still married and whatnot, but you know about.
Oh, you mean people. Like marriages?
Marriages.
I thought you were talking about like the undercovers friendships.
No. It's more
those
like
don't last
the life outside.
There's plenty of people who I used to call friend and we're not anymore. Well, I don't know about statistics, but I can imagine it'd be pretty tough. But it could be just being a law enforcement officer.
Right.
You know, if you're working cases that are taking you to overseas all the time or whatever, or just long hours. I mean, if you do the job, there may be a time where you got to go 72 hours with no sleep nonstop, hitting one SWAT hit after another, after another, after another. But when that's done, take a couple of days off, decompress, get your quality time with your family, and keep your family straight. Because again, at the end of the day, there's no case worth it to lose your family. I'll clarify a little bit because I'm also an active shooter response instructor for law enforcement. Now, we took an oath. If I have actionable intelligence that people are dying down the hallway, I got to go. I'm going to go no matter what. I'm getting down there and I'm stopping the killing, and then we're going to go to stopping the dying. That's not what I mean when I say there's no case worth it. When I say there's no case worth it, I mean like you're wrapped into this investigation and you're losing yourself, you're losing your family, but we got to get this case done. No, you don't.
Who's making that call?
It could be multiple facets. It could
Yeah.
be me saying I'm out because that's voluntary. Only thing that wasn't voluntary for me is being a case agent. SWAT, voluntary. I applied for it. Firearms instructor, voluntary. Defensive tactics instructor, voluntary. Active shooter, voluntary. Undercover, voluntary. Now, if I walked out in the middle of a case and that case failed because I walked out, I'm sure I'm not going to be getting called a lot. I might be blackballed a little bit, but it's just not worth it.
Why is it all voluntary? All of these.
I don't know. They're collateral duties. I mean, if I was, now there are a few offices where you can be the undercover coordinator and it be a full-time gig, just like being the lead firearms instructor and training coordinator. Then you're mitigated from casework, but yeah, I mean, it's like the actual do the undercover, the SWAT, it's voluntary.
Now, when you were sitting down to write the book itself, you have to relive a lot of these different experiences you had, and these are some heinous events that you've gone through. How does that affect you as a person, just having to relive these?
Some of it was very hard. Some of it was easy because I teach, so I'm a speaker, teacher, instructor, and I still travel the country. And I'll give a 3-hour block on when I was in the Outlaws and crashing mentally and physically, and then I'll give white nationalist blocks and to spread knowledge through law enforcement. And I'm always learning. I'm still learning, but some of it was tough. Like me and my wife at the time writing the book, we were in a good phase of our life. We were happily married, but we had to dive back in for the book, those rough times. So to dive in and write that, or to hear my wife being interviewed about how things were bad and that I was basically a zombie and a ghost when I got home because I was doing so much, and how she just tried to keep the stress away from me.
Do you think writing the book actually made your relationship stronger? Or?
Yeah. I mean, we got to be careful. Like, you're diving into those dark moments. You don't want to be fighting about it or anything. But yeah, that was, it's been an amazing process.
I think most of us don't sit back and look at our past memories or past lives and edit it over and over again. So that's a lot to go through with, especially with a partner too. Yeah.
And like I said, I'd say the hardest part, it's not the shock and awe stuff. The hardest part probably in the book was, going into those moments when me and my wife were not doing well.
Did you learn anything new from sitting back and writing the book and going over it that you hadn't seen before?
As far as my family, yeah. I mean, I thought I had a grasp on the way things were, but as I just said, I found out that I was basically a ghost when I got home. Like, even if she came up to ask, and this is when I was working like 80, 100-hour weeks, because I'm still a case agent when I get home. I'm still running tactical and firearms training for the area that I'm in. I'm on SWAT, but I'm also an undercover, and I'm traveling all over the place. And I mean, I did it to myself. I volunteered for all that. The only thing I was required to be was a case agent. But I'm a workaholic, and now looking back, I learned even more. I'm like, man, I wasn't there. I get home and I'm just like, I don't even want to think. I just want to lay the veg, and my daughters would crawl on top of me and we watch TV. But yeah, that was but it helps me as far as learning goes. It helped me to, see where I'd done wrong and maybe not do that again, kind of thing.
Anything that you can think of in particular that you would have changed or that you would or look to like do differently in your life now?
Well, you make time. You balance. Like through the book, if chronologically, I was learning as I messed up through that. I mean, chronologically, like I crashed, things were bad, marriage counseling, 911 hang up, cops come to the house, and then you for me and my wife, you kind of look at it and say, how did we get here? What mistakes were made, and how do we keep it from happening again?
Have you ever run into somebody or come across someone that you did put away?
Yeah, all the time. So,
oh, really?
It's like circling back, and thank you for bringing me back. I'm on a racetrack here. I'm coming back around. Turn number 3. See, I would get in these talks with like people at headquarters, and they're like, well, you got to be. I'm like, you do know that they get the discovery. They know I'm not going to work the Outlaws again. I was a real cop. I was the uniform patrol officer. How many people do you think I locked? Because I wasn't the guy that sat in the cul-de-sac waiting on dispatch to call me. I was proactive. I was out going to high crime areas. I was doing car stops. They were foot chases, all that stuff. How many people do you think I arrested in a 1 year time? And they don't stay in prison forever. I go to the grocery store. There they are. I go to the movies. There they are. I go to the mall. That's just part of your business. That's me personally. I would always go up and say, hey, I see them eyeballing me. I'm like, all right, before you start plotting, I go up and I go.
All right. So wait, you would actually go up and say, hey to the.
If they're out, yeah. If I saw them staring at me, yeah, absolutely. That's the way I do it.
Tell me about that. What happened?
So I just go, it's kind of like a mind screw, really. It's like a Jedi mind trick, right? But I'm just calling it out right there. I'm not, don't be plotting on me. That's what movie is that? Officer and a Gentleman. You plotting on me, boy? I'm telling my age, by the way. You eyeballing me? No, but I'll see them and I'll be like, Kevin, hey, bro, what's going on? How are you doing? How's the family? Are you cleaned up? Is everything good? Man, I'm hoping the best for you. I mean, that's just me. I always, for me personally, my best defense is a good offense.
And there's never concern that you're putting yourself in danger going up to
it could be, but that's part of that's part of your.
Now, what about with your family?
There could be, you can have a family plan for sure. Like if you see somebody that's not on the up and up, maybe you say, I'll meet you guys at the car.
Okay.
Maybe that's our code. I'll see you at the car.
And that is, they know to
that means
walk away
break
from you,
eye contact, get the hell out of there.
Wow.
And if, depending on what it is, you might be calling 911 and describing that my husband's off duty. He's inside right now. He's got a ponytail, sideburns, goatee, fully sleeved out tattoos. He's wearing blue jeans and a white shirt. Something's going down.
How do you have these conversations with your wife? And you have 2 daughters, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you sit down and talk to them about the nature of your work and how it can be dangerous for them now too?
Well, I guess it sucks in some ways because they didn't. Like my wife didn't marry the FBI or law enforcement. She married me. But I also look at it like I go out and I instruct, and I'm teaching this to all kinds of officers. I'm teaching it to all kinds of detectives. I'm teaching it to all kinds of civilians. If it's a civilian training class, I haven't told my family. I better go tell my family. You know, and just like the active shooter training, it's sad that we have to do as much of it as we do, but we have to. So, you know, that'd be a question for them. One of my daughters, we were on one show. She didn't get interviewed. It was just off the record. She was sitting there, and they asked her. They was like, "Hey, so what was it like having your, you know, growing up with your dad doing what he does?" And she said, "I didn't know I was any different than anybody else.
Yeah, I
just kind of kept it that way." So.
But she knew at the time that you were undercover, or that you did
maybe,
that,
yeah. I mean, when they're little, how can you really grasp it? You know, she knew Daddy was law enforcement.
Were you ever worried about your kids as they were growing up giving away information that could jeopardize you?
Not necessarily, because I kept that pretty compartmentalized.
Okay.
And there's only one time that I did an undercover deep cover near where I lived, and that's when I first moved to Tennessee. I was only there 6 months, so I had very little exposure as far as courts and cop stuff, and a chance came to go undercover, and it ended up being a 1.5-year case, deep cover, and it was like 1 or 2 counties away from where we lived. Those I had to be a lot more careful. Like even going to a birthday party, you know, if you want to go to the mall, Build-A-Bear Workshop, I put it in the book, but like we're going to Build-A-Bear Workshop, I had to let my wife and daughters go in first. I'll wait like 30 minutes or whatever. I'm doing all these detection, you know, I'm like looking, making sure nobody's around. I meander through the mall, making sure I don't see anybody that I have met who knows me as Scott. I think I was Williams on that case, you know, and then I kind of meander. I look like a heathen anyway, you know, but and then I come rolling into Build-A-Bear Workshop and kind of slide in and go, "Hey, baby, how's it going?" You know, and I tried to do the thing where, like, if anything happens, I'm Uncle Scott, blah, 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 Codewords turkey. my kids and my wife failed miserably every time, and I was like, you know what, just forget it. Let's go with get out of here, you know?
Now, when you were developing your undercover persona, was it much different from the person you are in day-to-day life?
No.
Why is that?
Well, it's the way I was trained, number one. If you pretend to be, especially deep cover for a long period of time, if you're pretending to be something that's way off of who you really are, usually 1 or 2 things is going to happen. Either you're going to slip up and get caught, or you're going to become it, and both of them are bad. So I was always close to me. Same old jovial dude, cracking jokes, making people laugh, whatever. I may or may not be a musician and a singer. I may or may not have kids, played college ball. Pretty sure you can probably figure out I lift weights and ride motorcycles or something like that.
So all those things kind of. So would you have ever worried about your undercover persona affecting your real life person or
I'll say no, but I listened to Sergeant Higginbottom. I don't know if he ever made higher than sergeant. I just know him as sergeant, but he's retired now, Higgy. And I listened to him, and he said he could see me changing on that outlaw case. He said he could see me getting more violent, more snippy.
What's that make you feel like when you hear that?
I mean, he's probably not wrong, you know? And I was younger then. Mm-hmm. I got wiser. I got better as I got older. I hope. I mean, I think I did. I mean, I still made plenty of mistakes. I still got DNR'd, but yeah, I try to learn from those mistakes. Like I said, so you know, towards the end of my career, I'm just like most of the stuff's challenges. I'm like walking away. I'm like, whatever. I'm done. You know.
And when you were running undercover agents, would you also look out for this and see that if there's any changes along the way? And
absolutely.
How do you approach them though and tell them like, hey, your job is turning you into kind of a dangerous.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Maybe Safeguard's the one that does it. Maybe you report it to Safeguard, and Safeguard comes in and says, "Hey, we need to talk to you," and then let them see if they can pass the assessment or not. I don't know. Usually with me as a friend, I'll say it. Or even if I'm just the case agent and you're younger or whatever, I'll be like, "Are you sure you're all right? Mm-hmm. You know, it looks like it's eating you up. You got something on your mind." That's what the contact agent's doing. But because I'm who I am, and I have that knowledge or skill set, I would not want the case to succeed in spite of your health or your mental health or your family. I mean, I'll be like, "Nah, we'll close this case. I'm not worried about that. How are you doing?"
And now within the FBI, is there a culture that you have Safeguard, you have a couple of other things there that are to protect the case agents?
Yeah.
Is there a culture of welcoming that, or is it something that is looked at like, oh, you need help, that is kind of a detractor on you?
It's going to ebb and flow.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's going to ebb and flow because like when I go teach, like I was just teaching last week, and this was just active shooter response. But at the end, when we're saying our goodbyes, if nobody said it, I'll bring it up. I'll be like, "Look, first responders and military, we're number one in suicide. We're number one in divorce. We're number one in alcoholism, probably pills or something else you want to throw in there now. And we're usually number one in dying within 5 years after retiring. It's a pressure cooker." I get the proverbial stereotypical story of you don't want to talk to the psych at your department because what if they leak it? Now you don't get promoted. Everybody looks at you like you're weaker. I said, I totally understand that, but just know there's help out there. Go find it. If you have a counselor you meet and you don't like them, I took this scenario from my pastor, but I go, "Have you ever had food poisoning? Have you?"
Oh, I have, yes.
Yeah. Did you quit eating?
No.
See, I don't eat at Quiznos anymore. You know, I might have to cut that out, but I don't eat at that restaurant anymore because they almost killed me. But yeah, just know this out there and find it. And I'll say, look, it doesn't mean you're weak if you go and get help. I mean, that's somebody over there with a toolbox full of tools that we may not even know any of them. Mm-hmm. If I told you to build a house and I only handed you a hammer, it's going to be tough. If I roll up with a truck full of the most awesome tools, you know, air compressors, all this stuff, I mean, it's going to be a lot easier. So don't think it's weak for you to go talk to somebody. I mean, clearly we've got an issue because all the suicides that are happening. So we need to do better.
And I think you said Joe Pistone was responsible for the Safeguard or the things that went in?
No, it was
so
him.
We're talking about one of the toughest, hard as nails undercover guys going through all this as one of the reasons to develop a whole protocol for helping people going through that.
Yep. Great program, great reason for being there, but as most things are, it can only be as good as the people in it and working it.
What have you learned over the course of your career, like things that have been implemented to help yourself mentally and help other agents?
Oh, like after I crashed, I had to set up, I kept a journal because they told me to, and I was like, all right, I'll do that. And I had to set up what I refer to them as tripwires. and accountability buddies, because I had a hard time saying no to a lot of stuff because I love doing more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I take ownership of something, I do not want to do it. I don't know how to say half-ass without saying half-ass.
That's okay. We have censors.
Yeah. Not do it halfway. I want to do it to the best I can. So when I moved to Tennessee, I said, you know what? I'm not going to have a plate that's this full anymore. My plate was way too full. They diagnosed me as overassigned. That's what my diagnosis was.
Were you assigning yourself these cases? Or?
Yeah, I volunteered for them. It's not like they made me do it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I did
my
it.
boss and be like, stop giving me all this work.
Look at myself in the mirror. You're fired. You stop it. But when I got to Knoxville, within like a month or two, I was already the undercover coordinator. I was the head tactical instructor. I'm like, this looks an awful lot like it did when I was in McAllen. But I said, okay, let's change my way of thinking. Clearly, I love having a full plate. I've got to set up parameters and accountability buddies and tripwires to stop me until at such time I'm wise enough to say no and not do all this stuff.
Now, you just said something interesting. You said to yourself, let's change the way I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
How did you develop that ability to recognize that you need to rethink the way you're thinking about something?
The easiest answer is what I was doing was not working. It was not helping me at all. You just have to look at the bigger picture. And again, you keep gaining knowledge. I mean, how did I get to where I was? What happened there? How do I stop that from happening again? How can I be the person or better than the person I was and not let this happen again, kind of thing. So again, I'm surrounded by people and all this knowledge, and I'm learning, and they're giving me stuff. They're like, hey, this is very common. We see this a lot in undercovers, you know, the fear of the end of the case, the fear of being discovered, the fear of you, or the heartbreak of you having to betray that person you've been a friend. I'm not the first one. I'm not the last one. There are guys and gals out there that have done way more than me. They're not sitting here. Some don't want to talk about it. Some do and don't get the chance. I've just been blessed, you know. Right. But if you mess up, I like to look at how I got there, keep it from happening again. No. How do I not let this ever happen again, kind of thing.
How do you develop your undercover persona? Like, what do you a whole backstory? Like, where's it start?
I mean, it's going to be up to you, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to look at the big picture. Am I a talker? Yes. Can I carry on a conversation with a brick wall? Yes. I need to know that. So when I'm trying to gain evidence, I'm quiet. You know, I shut up, not talk over them. But as far as the persona, I'm still me, you know. Like I did biker. I'm a biker. I'm an old biker, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to change it, man. I'm going to change it. When I got to Tennessee, I said, I'm not going to be a biker. I'm going to be something else. I feel like I'm getting pigeonholed, you know, cast typed, you know. But it was me. And I remember going to meet. I'd already met the source. We're going in. We finally get to meet one of the first main characters who's going to be pivotal in this case. And he says, why don't you come take a walk with me, old mountain guy. And we're walking down this beautiful property on a creek in very rural Tennessee. And I'm looking, and he's got Harley-Davidson boots on. He's got a biker wallet with a biker chain, Harley-Davidson wallet. He's got a Harley-Davidson belt. He's got a Harley shirt and a Harley hat on. And he looks at me and he goes, do you ride? And I went, yep. Yeah, I'm like, I guess I'm going to be and everybody always thought I was a truck driver, even though I never got a CDL. So I tried to change some things. I might say I'm a site survey specialist, but that parlays off of me growing up landscaping. I might say that I'm running a distribution center. And I took a model of a job that my dad was working, and I looked at it and I'm like, man, this is not that it's illegal, but I was looking at it and it's sort of like under the table cash. You're setting up, I mean, they drive around with paintings and lamps and stuff, and you go to maybe Boston because you got a pipeline, and you go up there to Boston, and it's the store that's going out of business. Going out of business. So you put your stuff on their floor, and they get a percentage of what you sell. And it was stuff like that, and I go, man, I could flip that into being on the criminal side quick, you know, and I use that, but I couldn't go say I'm an accountant, you know. I mean, it's like I joke all the time, but I'm like, I would even be with the undercover unit, and I'd be like, hey, how come y'all never called me for those Wall Street undercovers, you know? I can wear an Armani suit and drive a convertible Mercedes. I could be like an oil tycoon. I could say buy, sell, and they look at me and they go, country? No. And I'd go, fine.
Oh, you never said successful agent. You
Yeah,
just
I know.
said I can do this.
like, yeah.
What other things from like your childhood or growing up do you think helped you become a good undercover agent?
It's just my personality. For me, it's like being a musician. Like I'm a firm believer in you can inherit those skills because that's what I did. I hardly ever took any lessons, but I also a firm believer in you can be taught technically. Mm-hmm. But for me, growing up, I was always a people person, and not that you need that to be an undercover or a great undercover or anything. It's just that it helped me, and that's the way I did things. But yeah, in high school, 80s, I mean, you had a smoking area. I could go hang out with the smokers. Mm-hmm. I could hang out with the weed heads, potheads. I could hang out with the jocks. I was a jock. I could hang out with the musicians. And I actually had some pretty decent grades in my last 2 years. I was even on the beta club. That one I didn't fit too well in. But you're looking around the room going, would I have a beer with that one? Nope. A beer? Nope. Nope. Maybe. No.
All right. And then in college, you were a bouncer at a gentleman's club. You said that actually helped you too.
Yeah.
What
That's an oxymoron, by the way. There's no gentleman in there. Yeah. Neither was I back then. You start learning, or I started learning. My buddy described it to me, kind of like a baseball technique, man. Strike one, strike two, strike three, you're out. Unless you want to be fighting and getting your butt kicked all the time, if all you've got is 2 bouncers for an entire bar, and let's just say there's 2 to 3 bachelor parties in there, heck, just one bachelor party of 15 people, what are you going to do? You're going to fight 15 people? I mean, I've had it. I've been in them, you know. Or what if the other bouncer is not really a good bouncer, and every time a fight breaks out, that person's, where were you? Well, I was stocking the cooler. That's not your job. Where were you? I was dialing 911. The bartender can do that, you know. So I really started honing in on that. Some people call it verbal judo, gift of gab. You know, walk a, hey, buddy, hey, listen. It's more of a diffusing, de-escalating, which is huge in training now for law enforcement, de-escalation courses and stuff.
All right, so those are all things that kind of grew up having a part of your persona or your psyche.
Yeah, but I learned that. I mean, I really honed in that whole de-escalation skill bouncing.
Okay. You had a couple help you with your style at one point, a gay couple? Like what was wrong with your style beforehand, and then how did they improve it? And do you have any other tips I can use?
Well, but if I knew where they were, you know, hopefully they're still alive and doing well. But when I was a uniform cop in South Carolina, you got your beat areas, and there was like one gas station that was like a 7-Eleven or a pantry or whatever you have, Circle K, whatever it may be, Valero. It was in the middle, right where all beat areas met. So we were responsible at my sheriff's office for doing your own follow-up investigations, which is not the norm.
Okay.
They would give you to a certain amount. Like if it was less than like $10,000, you did the follow-ups, and that was good because it helped you kind of learn to investigate. But we're talking early and mid 90s. Mm-hmm. Nobody really had cell phones. We had beepers. So you would go into that gas station and use their phone, if they would let you, to do your follow-ups, like call the people, hey, can you tell me what else was stolen? Whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
And that's good for them because they got a cop car in their in their parking lot. But the manager was gay. And, man, I don't know if I put his name in the book because I can't think of it right now. I want to say Eric or something like that. But his boyfriend or partner worked the register. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'd get in fights, and I'd be in there and break up the spat. I'm like, all right, calm down. We all love each other kind of thing. But when I told them, we would always joke, and they were great. And I told them I made Vice and Narcotics. And they're like, so what are you going to be doing? I said, I don't know. I think I'm going to be buying dope and stuff. And they're like, looking like that? I mean, I had a high and tight. I mean, if it was a mustache, it was just thin and cheesy little peach fuzz or something, because you couldn't have it past the crease of your lip, you know, in uniform. And they started telling me, they were like, no, you need to do this. What kind of crowd you look for? I said, I don't know. Where's a lot of the dope at? And they're like, well, the bar scene. So here I am getting my Timberland boots and my baggy, not FUBU, but like baggy corduroy style pants and a button-up shirt with a tank. And they gave me the hairstyle I needed to get. And I remember being there one day, and I was like, I don't like these glasses. These glasses, my sunglasses kind of look cop. They kind of scream cop at that particular time. And I grabbed the set out, and I said, what do you think of these? And they were like, those are so yesterday, you know. And I was like, oh, so I was like, so I don't know what I'm doing. So they officially became my fashion consultants.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. When you're teaching new recruits or new students, do you have a list of here's everything that makes you look like a cop? And
well, I don't know if it's like some trainings will have it written down, but basically we're big on decopping, you know, and take the cop out, you know, like a cop always wants their back to the wall so they can see the door. Well, if you're undercover, you may not be able to get that done without looking weird.
What's that process like of de-learning what you've learned to protect yourself, but doing it in a way to now protect yourself again?
You got to make, I mean, sometimes it's really hard. You got to make a overt conscious decision and like say it. Like I'm like saying it in my head. I'm speaking it, you know? Because I mean, can you imagine if I walked in and I had my back up against the wall and I was trying to buy dope from you? It's not going to look believable, and it's going to send off red flags. And cop talk, you know, like I said it earlier when I was describing the drug deal with the Outlaws. I said, I'll have you out on the perimeter. I didn't say perimeter to his face, because to me, I'm going, well, now I'm starting to sound like a more of a military, more of a law enforcement training. So I might say something, I'm going to have you out on that far end, things like that.
Got it. Okay. Can you just describe what the base is?
A newer neo-Nazi movement. Like in the 80s, I think the Order, like the group called the Order, they were kind of in that same ideology, but they weren't calling it accelerationism. There's a longtime white supremacist neo-Nazi named James Mason. He wrote a book called Siege. So when you hear siege culture, you know, red pill, they take the scene from The Matrix, hey, what was your red pill moment, or are you blue pilled? But in essence, they're neo-Nazis, and there's different factions of neo-Nazis. Some neo-Nazis they use Christian identity, not to be confused with being a Christian. They bastardize the Bible, twist it to their belief system, just like the base said they were pagans. Yeah, they were bastardizing paganism and twisting it to their white supremacy ideology. I've got plenty of friends that are really devout pagans and some of the nicest, coolest people you can meet, you know. But for the purposes of this neo-Nazi movement that is kind of prevalent right now, they're called accelerationists. And what their belief system is that there's not a political solution that can save the white race. They believe that society is going to collapse either on its own or from man-made events, and they want to speed the collapse up, hence accelerate. And that may be through like guerrilla warfare type things. In other words, you're not going to see them doing like Charlottesville, walking down the street with signs, yelling and screaming. They're not going to do that. Number one, they think it makes you a target, and number two, they don't believe it does anything for anything. It's just noise. They're talking about like guerrilla warfare tactics, like creating chaos by like poisoning a water system, taking down a power grid, derailing a train, killing Antifa leftists, especially Jews and non-whites.
And how did you or the FBI become aware of them, that they're even an issue or problem?
I don't know if the FBI actually had the case open first. I don't think we did. A lot of our world working partners, like overseas, UK, maybe even Australia, stuff like that, because today's time with technology, that smartphone in your hand makes the world extremely small.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're on Telegram or Gab or whatever app you're using, and you've got that channel, people can be in there from all over the world. And if I remember it correctly, a lot of our working partners were picking up on stuff, and they were doing their own investigations, but they were finding out that most of the base was being driven outside from within the United States. And that's when it was coming to that's when I was kind of at the table. And I volunteered to do it, and everybody said, let's let you be the guy. The reporting is there. We're going in. There's some pretty radical things being said, but have they said like, we're going to kill all these people on this day? No. But that's the muddy area of domestic terrorism, because a lot of it falls under freedom of speech, First Amendment. And you have to go in there if we have reason to open a case and it's predicated and all that good stuff, and it's approved at the many levels it needs to be approved to open an investigation. Now I'm going in there and I'm ingratiating, and am I going to find out, are they planning illegal stuff that we can charge? Maybe, maybe not. I've been in some where I'm in there for months and months, and it's just talk. It's horrific. It's not nice at all. It's very racist, but they're not going to do anything. They're waiting for D-Day. They're waiting for the Boogaloo. They're waiting for the collapse to start. Then they say they'll be that neo-Nazi. But as far as kicking it off, no.
When hate speech is classified as a crime, does that become a tool for you to actually prevent further problems, or is that actually a hindrance in any way?
Just off the top of my head, I think it would help.
Yeah.
But that could be a slippery slope. I'd have to sit there. I'm the guy. I'm one of the team players that likes to throw it on the table and we all poke holes in it. I could waffle in 2 seconds. If you say something tonight, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Based on that, I'll change my answer. I think there definitely should be. We need a domestic terrorism statute. It's just what is it going to be?
Right.
For the international terrorism, a lot of it's like material support. You know, you show that you were actually trying to support or go over and support a terrorist organization. Well, in the United States, we don't list in the states an organization as terrorist. Like Canada's listed the base as a terrorist organization. But as far as domestic terrorism that I know, we don't do that. And it makes it somewhat difficult, but that's the way it is when you're working domestic terrorism.
Yeah, right.
This is good because a lot of people are like, well, why couldn't you do this? Why can't you do it? Because the law won't let us. The United States Attorney's Office won't prosecute it. We can't. So that's why I took, that's why we as the FBI and me as the undercover took Benji, who was down in Myrtle Beach. They wanted to go shoot up a synagogue in the spirit of Dylan Roof, but on a grander scale. He was a felon. He was a convicted felon, and he asked me for a gun. And I'm like, yeah. So we nailed him for a felon in possession of a weapon. He asked for it. He told me how many bullets, what kind of bullets, and I provided it for him. We didn't have enough to say, hey, you're going to kill all these people. What would the charge be? So a lot of times on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, especially domestic terrorism, we're trying to get you off the streets with whatever violation we can find.
Are you thinking about those beforehand? Like, what are the possible things that he could do that when they happen, maybe we can bring him in for that? Or is it, how would that work? Like, what's the point that you're like, okay?
Well, sometimes, yes, we may know ahead of time what we want to go with because we may know what they're already asking. But in the case of Benji, we didn't. We just knew that he had told some people that he had picked a synagogue. He wanted to kill some people. So I went to meet him, and I played what I like to call a closer. Like, it's not a murder for hire per se, but you're meeting me as somebody that's going to provide you with the weapon, with the bomb, with the grenade, whatever it is you want to harm people. So on those, I'm not that jovial. But I went to meet him not knowing what he wanted. I mean, I knew what he had posted, but how far are you willing to take this thing? And that's where the art comes in. That's where the chess game is really played, because it's like I can't put words in your mouth. You're telling me you want to do something on a grander scale. You're telling me this, that, and the other. You're telling me you got the heart. Well, I can't tell you what you need to do. What do you want to do for the cause? Benji was a little different.
Now, what's harder of a case to actually bring to an end? Something against like a group like the base, or the lone wolf individuals like Benji? I mean, when it comes to resources and everything that.
I would say we definitely used way less on Benji. I mean, the base case, that was only a 7-month case, but it exploded it was at such a fast pace. We were at one point pretty early on where once a month, every case team, because if you got a member in Michigan, well, maybe Detroit office opens that case. You got 2 members in Tennessee, maybe Memphis or Knoxville opens that case. You got California, Austin, Texas. So all these cases are being opened all over. We had cases open here in New York City. And those are case teams for every one of those cases. So we got to the point early on where once a month we would get on and have all the case team. We had well over 100 people on the call. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of resources. It can get very cumbersome, especially if one division says, you know what, we're going to take this off, and they're not thinking about everybody else's investigation. There's ways to do it. We're not saying don't go arrest the person, but let's look at the affidavit and what you're putting in there, because if you blow the entire operation, we've still got 50 plus targets out here that may be planning something bad. So it's a lot of movement.
And when you were developing your persona, you're undercover to go after the base,
Mhm.
How is that different from any of your other ones, considering how racist you were going to have to take on a racist persona just in order to be considered a real potential member for their
Yeah.
group?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if I was pretending to be a neo-Nazi white supremacist and you never heard me say one racial slur? Probably
Yeah, how do you do it?
probably gonna be a red flag, right?
Yeah.
Just got to. I mean, by that time, I'd had a lot of experience working those kind of cases. I don't have to lead it. You know, I don't come in being the loudest, yelling the most racial slurs, but I can mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I can play off of you. Like for a red pill moment, they're like, "What's your red pill moment?" Well, in the neo-Nazi accelerationist views, siege culture, your red pill moment would be the equivalent of being saved or baptized in Christian faith. So you need to know. It's like, oh, I just started. No, something happened. So I pulled real stories from my real life and applied them. You know, I got jumped by eight black guys. I thought I was fighting one, and 7 more jumped in, and then it was 8-on-1. That's a true story. So I used that, and then I could sell it as more real. Maybe I saw non-whites accosting and groping my mother when I was a little kid at a gas station, but I was too little to do anything. True story, but I just applied it, and I put a little hate on it, and that's just for me. The biggest thing I did for the base case is I made myself younger. That's the first time all my undercover stuff.
Made yourself younger. Explain that a little bit.
So when you're setting up your identity and your backstopping, your legend is what we call it. I'd always, for whatever reason, I'd always made myself 2 years older. It was just easy for me to remember. But I was finally at a stage in my career where I'm like, crap, I'm too old. I need to back it up. So I backed it up 4 years. If we're having a real conversation and I ask you where you went to high school, you know where you went to high school.
Yeah.
It flies right off yeah. You can answer all that. You need to be able to do all that. So maybe I picked 4 years because I'm like, okay, it's kind of still the same music. But instead of graduating college in 93, I graduated high school in 93. So for me, that's what I did because it made it easier for me to remember, just in case it comes out. And I'm not going to walk in and throw all that out there. But I did the whole interview process they do. You know, I said I was an old biker and I was a skinhead before.
Like, you take me through that interview process and how you reach out to them. Like,
they were posting on Gab, which I don't even know if it's still around. But they were posting a good bit on Gab, and it would be recruitment type things. Hey, we're a survivalist group, blah, blah, blah. But you would see the picture, and it'd be save your race, join the base. And then once I got in, it even got more sophisticated. It would have a QR code on it. Like, we'd go out and do flyering. So somebody's got the spray glue, and we walk as far down as we want. Our car's here. We walk down, hoods on, everything. There was all kinds of operational security. Get down there. And then that way cameras can't pick up your face and stuff. I still kind of don't understand that because I'm like, is it really that big of a crime? I mean, there's pictures all over this pole already. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
But on the way back up, on spraying the glue, you're slapping it. There'll be a QR code on it. You scan that QR code. It takes you straight to a BitChute video of us doing training and to be propaganda to recruit you. So I answered some of those Gab postings. And then I got an email from a Proton Mail account outside the United States that they believe is encrypted and all that good stuff. Harder to get records for law enforcement.
Okay, harder, but not impossible.
Well, you know, there are some you can't, you know, but that's the whole belief system behind it. I'm not saying that everybody's on Telegram's bad or Discord's bad, but bad people go there because, you know, hey, this is encrypted end to end. They're based out of Sweden, you know. FBI or the feds aren't going to be able to subpoena that kind of stuff. So I answered a bunch of questions for about a week or so, back and forth in emails. And
what kind of questions are they asking you?
My height, weight, ethnicity.
Height, weight? What? Any reasoning behind that?
No, I mean, because they're looking to train.
Okay.
And they want, I guess, warriors. But like your background, what can you bring to the table as far as training goes? Like my age, do I have an issue taking commands from a younger person? Things like that. And diving a little deep, but it got deeper because then they said, hey, we want you to download the application called Wire, similar to WhatsApp. You can do vocal call. I mean, you can chat, whatever, make a phone call on it, all that stuff. And I was told who to contact, and I ended up doing about an hour and 15-minute panel interview. I think I counted like 5 voices on there.
Do you remember what questions they were asking you during that panel? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like some would be like, like that one I said, would you have an issue taking orders from somebody younger than you? No, I'm a team player, man. I threw it out there. I'm like, now, if you don't know what you're doing, maybe I would. Is there anything that you're not willing to do to accomplish a goal? Things like that, my background. Tell them about when I was a skinhead in South Carolina. What happened with that? All that stuff. They also used that interview to explain to me what they were. And that's when I really learned that accelerationist view, no political solution for the white race, to save the white race. They want to speed up the collapse. That's when I learned all that.
How big of a problem would you say accelerationism is in the United States today?
It's definitely a threat. I'm not going to say you got 1,000 neo-Nazis are going to be on your doorstep tomorrow, but I'm saying 100,000 or 1 million, but yeah, that could be up there. The thing is if you look, so we took down the base in January of 2020, COVID year. Before it was called COVID, it was already here. We took that down, and within that next year, I developed a source who had been in the movement, the white supremacy movement, pretty much his entire life. Mm-hmm. Every facet, everything. Had a lot of knowledge. And he said that when we were working the base, it was basically the base in Atomwaffen. There's Order of 9 Angles, and I'll get into that in a minute, but those were the main ones, and a lot of your other white nationalist groups considered that cringe. But by the time, let's just say end of 2021, like 90% this is what they're telling me, 90% of your white nationalist groups were accelerationists. That a lot of your accelerationist groups, if you scratch at the surface long enough, you're probably going to find somebody who's affiliated with O9A. That's Order of 9 Angles. That is white supremacy to a whole nother extent. Satanic, big on physical abuse, rape, pedophilia. So, excuse me. I recently learned, when I first saw this whole 764 stuff coming out, that they're saying the FBI, every FBI office has a case open on a 764 person. I just took a glimpse. I've been wide open. I wasn't really diving in on it. I thought it was just human trafficking and crimes against children. I was talking to somebody the other day that works it, and as soon as they started explaining the ideology, I stopped them, and I'm like, well, that sounds like accelerationism. And I'm like, is there like a satanic side to this? Oh, no, they said, absolutely. So that 764 are accelerationists. And I mean, it is some grotesque, horrific things they're doing. They're going on, and so are pedophiles and child predators. They're going into Roblox and grooming kids. A lot of it is boys in their teens, tweens, they call it, young teens. They're like Roblox, Minecraft, these games, they'll go in there and befriend them. So parents need to really be aware of who their kids are online playing with.
Now, these horrific, gruesome things, how do they accelerate anything other than...
I think it's going to be the same kind of chatter, at least from what I was picking up, but the same kind of chatter that I heard in the group just caused chaos. The base case, the group, the cell, C-E-L-L, that was up in Baltimore and Delaware area, they were thinking that there was in 2020, January of 2020, there was going to be a guns rights rally in Virginia. I can't remember who the governor was at that point, but more liberal, tougher on guns. It was going to be like a Second Amendment rally. The idea that some of the members of the base were saying is, what if this is the kickoff to the Boogaloo? What if this is the kickoff to D-Day? Mm-hmm. And their idea was one of the many ideas they had was, let's say that's rally going on, and you've got pro-Second Amendment people. Nothing illegal about that, but maybe you got 3%ers. That's more militia type. There's nothing illegal about that. But are there ones out there that have nefarious plans? Yes. Maybe if they go and they pop a couple of rounds, because you're going to have protesters, cops, and all these people, maybe it just starts a volley of gunfire because nobody knows who's shooting at who. Maybe that's the kickoff. So, yeah, they're looking at all kinds of stuff like that. Now, I will say for the average listener, there's not a lot of forethought. There's not a lot of afterthought. Because if you try to make sense of it, you're like, how do you think this is going to end? You think you're going to take over your own property in the Appalachian Mountains, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Pacific Northwest, and we're going to make our own compound, and cops aren't going to come, National Guard's not going to come, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines isn't going to come, but they don't have a lot of answers for that kind of stuff. And I'll say this as well, because I have read some fodder after some of the interviews I've done, and it's like, oh yeah, well, nobody's investigating black gangs. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I've got friends that do that. I've got mentors and people that do that. I'm just telling you what I did, you know, and that's why we're on these topics. But extremism on its front, whether it's far left extremism, far right extremism, radical jihad extremism, it all has they're very similar in their beliefs. And they're very similar in their recruitment and grooming and radicalization online.
Are they learning this from each other on how to recruit?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. Al-Qaeda, translated to English, is the base.
Huh.
That's what it means in English.
Really?
Al-Qaeda.
Did the members of the base know that?
Yeah.
What did they feel of that?
There were some that would be like, make jokes, but it was like, oh, it's just a fluke. All right, here's the other fluke, right? Or it's just a coincidence. Al-Qaeda's MO was to have 3 to 5 man cells, my country accent, CELL, 3 to 5 man cells all over the world, training, waiting on the call for D-Day. Mm-hmm. What was the MO of the base? 3 to 5 man cells all over the world, training, ready for D-Day.
How close did the base get to that? How were they?
How dangerous? Taking over the world, I don't know, but my groups were the groups I was in, like the cell in Georgia and that Baltimore. We were already looking at property in the Appalachian Mountains, and there was a crew out of Detroit and Midwest, and they were looking at the Upper Peninsula, and the leader of the group had property in the Pacific Northwest. So, I mean, getting there, I don't know, but as far as that's the hard part. You go in there and you're trying to find out, okay, is this just chatter? I mean, it's clearly disturbing, but is it chatter, or is one of these going to break and go out? I mean, the guy that I didn't follow it super close, but there was a guy that just killed. It was his parents. One of them was a stepdad or the stepmom, but he kills them. He's on his way down apparently to try to attack Trump. Well, they get him. And as soon as they started going through, as soon as I saw the drawings on his gun and then the ideology, I'm like, he's an accelerationist. You know, so it just takes one.
What kind of markings are we talking about here?
Well, sometimes they'll do you'll see your white supremacy symbols, but you'll also see some Norse stuff. Remember me talking about them bastardizing paganism? Yep. But I mean, Hitler did too, right? So Hitler, you would see like the black sun, and you would see, all these other things, and that's Atomwaffen and the 2 S's, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, because that's what they're idolizing themselves after. They want Hitler's Germany.
Are you still looking for these things when you're out and about today?
Yeah, and I'm still involved in groups. Like I'm involved with Eradicate Hate Global Summit. I know people and have contacts now with people that are involved with Life After Hate. So yeah, I'm looking.
Well, what was the first group that you said you were involved in? The
Eradicate Hate.
Eradicate Hate. How does that work? How does that function?
So that's a huge conglomerate, but it started after the Tree of Life massacre up in Pittsburgh. Heavily funded by the Jewish community. I was blessed enough after the Rolling Stones article came out about me in February of 2022. They asked, originally it was the journalist who interviewed me, but he had family issues, so it ended up being my co-writer, Michelle, and I that went, and she knew a lot of people in those same circles anyway. Mm-hmm. But we went up there and did like a live, open kind of interview for an hour, and it really opened my eyes because, if you only work one thing or you only watch one thing, you kind of got a skewed view of things, right? That's just human nature. But I was meeting people who are paralyzed from the waist down that were far angry black separatists, and now they're not. They're trying to stop hate. It was just eye-opening for me. Like, I met people that I was like, wow, because being brash or more brash back in the day, I might be more like somebody comes up and they say something and I'm like, bro, in my head I'm thinking, you don't even know what kind of evil's really in the world. You're living in a bubble. Just go back to your bubble. There's no point in me even talking about it. But now I'm more of a place where I'm like, how do you want to be part of the solution or part of the problem? So instead of just being all standoffish and going, you don't even know, I'm like, well, you know what, I see what you're saying, but let me tell you my experience. And then that's how it all starts. We just start talking and we get a dialogue, because it's okay for you to be different and not to like things that I like. And I can like things that you don't, and vice versa, but we can still be friends. We can still get along. It doesn't have to be so divisive and cancel. And now we need to kind of come back towards the middle, I think.
Yeah.
My opinion, anyway.
What if any common traits do you see amongst hate groups? Are there, like you said, there was a little bit in the way they recruit and groom, but are there things that you see?
Yeah, I mean, for me, at least a lot of those groups that I worked, outcast, socially awkward, most likely been bullied, hard to find a partner kind of thing. And just like a gang, just like a cult, they're looking to belong. They're trying to find like-minded people where they can belong. And if you're a bad person who has nefarious plans, you can use that to your advantage to groom somebody and bring them in.
What do you think people could do now in order to combat the hate, before it even gets to a point where it's dangerous?
There's a lot of things, but for me, 28 years in law enforcement, and I'm still involved with law enforcement, it all starts at home.
Yeah.
Now, we can go off on a tangent of, are you a product of your environment? I completely believe in that. I've seen it. But it all starts at home. And I get it. I mean, if you're a single parent and you're working more than one job, it's hard. But I guess for me, off the top of my head, the best combative measure is to talk to your kids, pay attention, and have those hard conversations.
How do you have those with your own kids?
I'm transparent. I mean, I'm just, I'm very transparent. It's just me. It's like, hey, blah, this is what I've seen, you know. I didn't have to worry about it too much with my kids. But again, I say that maybe there was something and I didn't see it, you know. Thing is don't act like it's not happening. Talk about it.
Yeah.
You know. And there's all kinds of other things after that, but for me, when you ask me that question, that's just what I think.
Okay. What do you see in like today here in America today? Different things that are going on that might be accelerating these things.
Fueling the fire?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that enemies of our country, if they're a threat country, they do put money into the United States. They do fund left and right to cause chaos.
Can you see that coming beforehand? Can you see chaos being created?
Sometimes, yeah.
And
I mean, let's just say.
What would you be looking for?
Okay, maybe some signs would be like your kids withdrawing, like you're not seeing them as much. They're staying in that room a lot longer. Check out that web browser. I mean, there's apps out there for kids. You can actually buy the phone from them now. It's called Bark, B-A-R-K. I'm not plugging them. I guess I am plugging them, but I'm just saying they have people that are going through like you can make it as sensitive as you want. It will mirror everything. It will let you know what your kids are doing on the phone. If it picks up on self-harm talk, if it picks up on drug talk, firearm talk, aggressive fighting talk, you can make it sex talk. It will notify you everything, and it'll send it to you as a parent. I'm the one that read through all that. I don't know if my wife could read through all this stuff. I can actually go into work mode as much as I don't want to be reading it, but I could go into work mode and go, blah, 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 I don't want to be looking at this, and my kids are having this conversation. But on the scale of things, this is somewhat normal, and I'm not going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can lighten it up from that. But it's sad that you need that layer of protection, but you need it.
Okay.
Because it's out there. I don't want people to walk around scared and be all, you know, negative Nancy, the glass is half empty, woe is me. But just understand that there's evil people on this planet that want to do evil things to good people.
Yeah.
And it's been that way pretty much since the beginning of time.
How, with Benji, did you figure out how to interact with him? What was it? Because he was scaring other white supremacist groups, right? Like, what was he doing? What was he doing saying that was
he was too radical.
What is too radical mean?
Well, it was Ku Klux Klan, or a branch of it. And he was like race war, wanting to kill non-whites. And I mean, to the point to where it's like, actually, if you're in these groups, they call that Fed talk. So if you start typing that stuff in the main chat group, whether it's wire or whatever encrypted, and you start saying, we need to kill all Jews, it's like, hey, bro, easy on the Fed talk. You're glowing. So when they say you're glowing, that means they think you might be a Fed. You're going to be drawing federal scrutiny. You're going to be drawing, yeah. Really? So he was saying that kind of stuff, and it just freaked some people out. They were like, we're white separatists now. We're not white supremacists, because that makes it sound better, you know. But yeah, they freaked them out. Kind of, let's go back full circle. Like when the two Yemenis show up on the other side of the border, the cartel's like, nope. No, we're not taking Look what we found for you guys.
I got to ask, how does the KKK reach out to the FBI and go, this guy's scaring us?
Could be a call in, could be a walk in, could be a source of information. Mm-hmm. Could be that we have a source and somebody they know is a member tells them they tell us, kind of thing. Not without giving it all away.
Right.
You know, he was told that something to the effect of, I was a long-time supporter of the cause, white supremacy.
Okay.
I think he believed I was an old Aryan Nation guy.
Was it easier to get him to trust you since he was younger and inexperienced?
No. Listen, I don't underestimate, because every time I have, it's bitten me in the butt. Yeah. That's a no-no in our world, in our business. Don't get lax. Don't underestimate. And I say that to people. People are like, oh, they saw a picture. Like some of the pictures they posted of him, I mean, man, he looked like a chunky kid. Now, he was a man. He was a grown man. But the pictures, you know, and then you take a little beating from your peers and mentors. They're like, what are you doing, you know? Here's the thing. If I would have shown you a picture of the Columbine kids before that event happened, what would you have said? What if I showed you a picture of the Aurora movie theater shooter? That was an incel before he did what he did. How about the kid in Charleston, South Carolina? I've already said his name because I was quoting what Benji said. But in the tactical training world, we don't like to say the bad person's name because that's what they want.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
What is the power in not saying their name?
We're not giving them any more time. Mm-hmm. I'll name every victim from Columbine, but I'm not going to name those two kids' names when I'm teaching tactics. Sometimes when I'm teaching undercover, I have to. Like if I'm talking about the Charleston shooter, I have to, because Benji specifically said, I want to do something on in the spirit of, I already said his name before, but on a grander scale. Mm-hmm. So that's when I'll say it. But if I showed you a picture of that kid with the bowl haircut, skinny with a Gold's Gym t-shirt on, holding a 45 and a rebel flag, what would you have said? Dead is dead. It doesn't have to be a grown man. It doesn't have to be somebody that's super with it and smart. It doesn't have to be the Christchurch shooter. But danger is danger, right? That's what always got. It doesn't crack me up, but I'm like, what? It's like, oh, it only killed a couple of people. One's enough, isn't it? We don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, yeah, that's the way I kind of go with that. But I did not underestimate, because I'm not a guy. I wasn't an agent or a law enforcement officer that, like, you know, you run into some people like, oh, this dude's the most dangerous dude in the world. He's going to kill everybody. I'm on the opposite spectrum. Mm-hmm. I'm very skeptical, you know, more cynical, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, is he capable? Yeah, but when I left Benji for meeting him that first meet, I went back to the case team and I said, I am 99.9% out of 100% sure that if I was really a bad guy, and I pointed out to him, hey, you see those cameras? You need to take those out. It needs to be this time of day. Look at that tree line right there. I think you'd do it. I said, but I'm also 99.9% sure now, after meeting me, that if he is planning on doing something, he's going to call me to get what he needs. For me personally, every case I ever worked really had a drug angle. Somewhere in it. Maybe not the base. I mean, they did Adderall and tripped acid, but it wasn't like they were moving dope, you know? But even when I went and did the public corruption case in Tennessee, that was pills. I mean, they were moving pills like thousands and thousands right that's when it started really popping off out of Florida.
Did you ever get asked to do any drugs or narcotics while you were undercover?
Yeah.
And is it one of those things that like we see on TV where you have to do this drug or you're a cop?
If I'm in fear for my safety and I think that I'm going to die, I'm going to do whatever I got to do.
Did you ever have to?
No. I faked a test. It's in the book, which people still get it wrong. Like they'll go, yeah, he did cocaine. I did not do cocaine, but I faked the test because I one time I got lax and I underestimated, and it was that same mountain guy I was talking about who had all the Harley stuff. And what I did is I knew the dope I'd bought the last time I was in town from his nephew was stepped on like crazy. It wasn't hardly pure at all. I mean, it was very low purity is what I should say. So being a good drug dealer, I would come back and say, hey, that crap that your nephew sold me, it wasn't worth a damn, to try to show my bona fides because I know, you know. Well, I did that, and he let me walk myself into a corner. Because I said, yeah, that stuff you had, man, you know, I didn't realize that everybody kind of left. It was just me, him, and his girlfriend. And he said, I said, man, that stuff, that was pretty weak. He goes, well, try this. This one didn't. This is good stuff right here. And I'm like, oh, you know, and now he's like, he had a red bone hound that was mean. I mean, I don't know what that thing, but it's in my crotch, like right here. You can feel the heat off his breath going, and I don't know if he trained it to bite people in the nether region or what, but I'm like leaning far back on the couch. He's got a double barrel shotgun. He's already put one in his hand and pointed at me. He's already telling me, if I find out you the law, you a dead man. You hear me? If I find out you the law, you a dead man.
Why was he thinking this at the time? Was it still just early vetting, or is it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you're an outsider coming in. That's one of the things. That's why your legend is so important. But here I am leaning back. He's got an open bag of cocaine in my face going, just do it, just do it. And I'm like, man, and I'm sitting here in my head, I'm pissed because I'm like, I can't believe I let this guy walk me. He's savvy. It's my fault, you know? But even if I tried to move away, I think I would have knocked the cocaine everywhere, and I probably would have ingested some anyway, which may not be a big deal to a lot of people, but it is to me.
Right.
As a federal undercover agent. So then I fell back on my legend. I argued back. I'm like, look, I told you I don't do that crap anymore. I was a power lifter. I did that stuff like I can't do it. I got anxiety issues. I got heart issues. And that's not too far from the truth, you know? And I'm like, because I was a speed freak. I took all the effort and stuff. I was lifting like crazy. You know, I still lift, but not like that, you know? Right. So there's a lot of truth in what I was saying. But he was like, well, then just taste it. So I did a sleight of hand. I just did it. And nobody taught me how to do it. I had to figure it out on my own right there on the spot.
And how do you train to deal with people that are on different drugs? I mean, you were saying that the base liked acid. I can't imagine what militia group on acid is like.
Yeah. After the sacrifice of
do
the
they
goat.
Put their weapons away and take acid, or?
I mean, the weapons were easily accessible. But it did kill the training for the next day because everybody was up all night high on acid. So the next day I was like, look at you guys. I'm like, we can't. There was only a couple of us that didn't do it. I'm like, well, I guess this whole day's shot.
So maybe if we get the base and any other future groups just on acid every day, we wouldn't have a problem.
Take the guns away from them. I don't want them having a bad trip, you know. But yeah. It's for me. I mean, I do have a lot of exposure to different types of drugs and how people act on them and stuff, just from being in law enforcement for all the years. But yeah, it depends on the situation, I guess. I'm gonna have to watch. Are you out of control? It's no different than drinking, right? You go out with somebody and they're like, hey man, let's get a shot of tequila for everybody. You're like, yeah man, let's do it. And they go right about here. They go, man, when I drink this stuff, I get crazy. I'm like, whoa. Then I put my hand. Well, let's get you something else to drink.
Now, what about you? Like, if you're out there drinking, how do you protect yourself and from giving yourself up?
I know me. It's hopefully I'm not screwing it up, you know, but I don't get, you can listen, like the 2 years of the Outlaws, I listened to every one of those recordings, every second, every minute. As I got longer in the tooth, I'd be like, hey, I know what all happened on a certain case or whatever. Like I can just fast forward to this point because this is where the transcription part needs to be. This is where the crime's talked about, kind of thing. But yeah, I listen to every bit of it. And if I heard myself slur, I'd be like, dadgummit, because it might be like 4:30 in the morning. But then I'd listen, and within 5 minutes, I pick it up. You know, I go in the bathroom, pour the drink out, come back, find some coffee somewhere.
So you have protocols set in place that allow you to do that.
764, from what I've read, I'm not working the cases, but I did talk to some people that are working it. 764 comes, the kid that created, I think out of Texas, that was his area code. So they just called it 764. But then it grows into this whole thing online, encrypted apps, recruitment, grooming kids to do horrific things to themselves, sextortion. You know, they get them to do some act, and now they're like, okay, you need to do this, or we're going to turn this over, you know, embarrass you. I had that talk with my girls growing up. I'm like, I don't care if anybody ever tries to pressure you into doing something, because you might have made a mistake and you might have done something, and they ever, because I'd heard like somebody's like, well, I'll tell your dad. I said, you walk them to me and let them tell you. You tell me before. I said, do not let anybody ever extort you, blackmail you, because when they're younger, they think it's their, or it could be older too. If you're in that mindset where you believe your entire livelihood is shot and that's your mindset and there's no way out, that's when some people take their lives. I said, don't you ever let anybody do that. You can tell me anything. We'll talk about it. I'm not going to go off the handle. We'll talk about it, and we'll work through it. But I'm just trying to pay it forward. You know, you can't make everybody happy, but I'm trying to fight the good fight and do the right thing.
Well, Scott, you have a fascinating life that I would definitely watch if it was turned into a series or a movie. So I could see that coming along. But thank you for joining us again. Really appreciate it. And I want to thank you for joining us on our first episode of Authorized Account, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Reilly. Till next time.